Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking once again another look at ranked battle. I do have two games for you. Both will be in the tier 6 Japanese battleship Fuso, and I will have to say two are very examples of being really having a really good team that works very well together, and the other is a little bit more of a team that kind of potatoes, and then it's really of a struggle just to actually be able to get everything done. So we are currently playing on neighbors. We have a Ruho, New Mexico, Bayern, Fuso, Cleveland, Gade, and a Fubuki. On the enemy team, there is a Independence, Arizona, Warspite, Bayern, Grashbe, the high school fleet edition, and two Fubukis. And I will have to say, so one major thing is obviously there is a enemy carrier. These lower tier battleships aren't as good as obviously the higher tiers, especially the Americans with their AA. I mean, you can still shoot planes down, but we do have to be a little bit more careful. So I do kind of point out in the chat that we need to kind of stay together since we do have a Cleveland. The Cleveland is going to provide support. Now, our destroyers kind of do their own thing. We do agree to go on A, and instantly we see a enemy Fubuki, so I go ahead and open up with against him because he's actually the first one that was seen, and also within range. The Warspite, I think, is just now coming in range. So our destroyers are kind of off doing their own thing. Now the Ruho is going to have a bit of an issue going against the Independence, but it's not impossible. Now good carrier player should be able to compete against a enemy Independence, a USN carrier, if played properly and managing their fighters very well. So it is possible, but unfortunately our CV is not having the best of luck. Our Gade is currently being focused on by the enemy CV, which is unfortunate. Opened up against the Galaspe, got some damage in, which is always very nice. Now this battle, I will have to say, it's not very high damaging game, but it was essentially more coming down to the team working together. As you can see, we have the Bayern, the New Mexico, and the Cleveland all kind of staying together, and this is kind of how you should be playing. Now I am leading the charge. We have our Fubuki going out far east, not being particularly helpful. We'll have to say his positioning is not very beneficial for us. He might get a few torpedoes off against the battleships that are on the enemy team. Once again, I'm currently trying to focus down these enemy destroyers because they are the more pressing danger to us, especially us battleships, because they do have 9 torpedoes and they do fairly significant amount of damage. But you can see how I'm kind of situating myself. The Fuso does have 12 guns, and they are kind of awkward. You do have to show a lot of broadside, but if you play it correctly, you should be able to get off all 12 guns without showing off too much broadside. We have finally capped A. The enemy team have done a fairly good job capping B, so we are currently behind in points due to the late capture, but that's all right. Our team should be able to recuperate our loss with no problem. Our Gade is doing his best. He's not, I will have to say, the Gade's probably not the best destroyer for rank. Kind of what I've seen. Now I haven't tried it personally. Looks like there's the enemy Fubuki. Yes, definitely want to get rid of him. The enemy Fubuki obviously has 10-kilometer range torpedoes. Definitely don't want to deal with that. The Gade does get the Fubuki, so that is obviously one less destroyer we have to worry about, and we have just lost our own friendly Gade to the enemy Arizona. Now the enemy battleships are, for whatever reason, still pushing into B, and they're showing a lot of broadside there. I did get a fairly sizable hit, and looks like, I believe, the Fubuki actually did drop torpedoes, took out a huge chunk of that Warspite's health, and then I finished him off with my own guns. Grashbe is one. It's another cruiser. I wouldn't say is truly beneficial, honestly, due to the fact of her slower reload rate. Looks like Bayern does take 1 torpedo. And Cleveland should be alright. But yes, the Ground Spray, granted, does have those bigger guns, those Scharnhorst caliber guns. But as a cruiser, and especially since she does have cruiser armor, it's not really that beneficial. We'll have to say, but as you can see, the enemy CV really is having issues actually doing any damage towards us. He hasn't even flown towards us in a while. I believe he's actually currently harassing our friendly Fubuki, who's currently way up northeast, doing his own little thing. I think he was trying to assist, but obviously he's getting pushed back by the enemy CV. But our fleet of battleships, the Cleveland's actually currently sitting in middle, so that's actually very fantastic positioning on his part, providing all 3 of the battleships with air support. So very fantastic job there. And also, the Cleveland is a great HE spammer. I mean, that's one really nice thing, is that he can just pump out that HE and cause fires, cause that point damage over time. And here at the moment, this island now has actually split us off, but the friendly CV, I believe, is currently trying to do a drop on one of the enemy battleships, but I do point out, where is the other Fubuki? We haven't seen him in a while, and as a battleship, I'm slightly concerned about this, because he could easily be up north, and that's probably where I would be, honestly. Be up north of us to ensure that a good possibility of torpedoes actually landing. As you can see, we are fairly well grouped together. The Bayern's actually starting to turn around, realizing obviously the enemy battleships are starting to push south of us. So we are getting turned around here at the moment, and this is actually a very dangerous position because the Fubuki can drop torps, and I was very nervous on this turn here, whether or not that Fubuki was going to try to drop on us, but I think the Fubuki is actually currently south of us, so we should be fine. Our friendly CV actually just took out the enemy Independence, so that is one less thing we have to worry about. No more concern about the CV, and we just took out the enemy Fubuki as well. So our team's doing a really good job. You can see how well, especially working together, is extremely beneficial. We've stayed together. We've ensured that all of us, except for obviously the core destroyers, who unfortunately were focused down fairly early in the battle. The Fubuki wasn't extremely beneficial. He did get some torpedoes off, so I will grant him that. But his current positioning is not very favorable for us. Now, our friendly CV is doing a downright fantastic job as well. He currently just dropped a couple torpedoes into that smoke. Obviously, there is 2 battleships currently hiding that, and we should, in a moment now, should see a hit, and it looks like he just took out the enemy Bayern with those 2 torpedoes. So very good job there on the Ruho. He actually did a good job as far as assisting and taking out the enemy battleships, as well as the enemy CV. That was a big thing. No longer have to worry about enemy dive bombers or torpedoes, even though we honestly haven't seen them. So this is actually about it for this replay. All that's left on the enemy team is this Arizona open up. He has essentially 2 battleships, actually 3 battleships, gonna open up against him. So he should go down very quickly. And there, unfortunately, don't get the kill, but the Bayern gets the kill. So very fantastic job. Now we're gonna jump into the next replay, where it doesn't go quite as smoothly as this. So we'll see you in just a sec. Alright everyone, welcome back to the second replay with the Fuso, and this is going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be very chaotic. This team kind of potatoed kind of near the mid of the game, and I really had to kick in the tryhard mode, to say the very least. We are currently playing on Ring. We have a Dunkirk Bayern, 2 Fusos, Leander, Nuremberg, and a Gade. On the enemy team, there is a New Mexico Bayern, 2 Fusos, Cleveland, a Perth, and a Fubuki. And as far as like the Dunkirk is concerned, I don't see it truly that beneficial. I mean, the only good thing about her is her speed and her lack of needing to show a broadside to get off all her guns. That's the only thing I could see that would prove beneficial. Our friendly Gay does spot the enemy Fuso, which does allow us to open up against him. Obviously, he has no one currently spotting for him, so we're able to at least get some initial damage done. And this is actually something you need to kind of think of, is just getting initial damage. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it adds up, and that's going to prove beneficial later on. Unfortunately, we didn't get much damage there, which is unfortunate. Now, as far as the Fuso herself in rank battle, she's going to be one of the strongest battleships, due to her speed, her basically her shell size. She has the biggest shell size compared to any of the other tier 6 battleships that are the main, the New Mexico, the Baron, and the Fuso. So she's going to be one of the better, especially if you play her right. Her armor will at least ricochet most shells. Obviously, she does have one of the weaker armors, and that's something you do have to keep in mind. If you do show a broadside, you will get punished if a player knows what they are doing. So our team decided to go to B. We are pushing into B, and this is kind of where I guess we have a miscommunication. Our Leander is all the way up north. He's going to be the only one currently going to be spotted, and this is going to prove an issue for this Leander. Don't exactly... Actually, I'm kind of curious. Oh. Yeah, he dropped smoke, but I believe he was still detected, and all those battleships just opened up against him, and he instantly went down. So we have just lost one of our cruisers. And yes, it is not good. This is not a good beginning. Now, we do get a nice citadel on that New Mexico, which is causing that damage to start to rack up. And here is where we have an issue. Look at the minimap. You can see our Gade and our Nuremberg are currently pushing out west, back up north towards A, while all the battleships are currently pushing out east and then north. And actually, probably just about here is right where they're going to be sitting for the majority of this battle. And this is the issue. Our Gade, our destroyer, and our other cruiser are currently back over with the enemy force that are currently pushing west and south to get towards B. And this is going to prove a major issue for us because they're the only one that are going to be focused on, especially against these battleships. This is not a position you want to be in. So I do go ahead, turn around, and oh my word, it's so sluggish to turn around. Get some shells off on that New Mexico. Gonna try my luck with this Fuso. The gate does drop smoke screen, which is good. And now here's the thing to keep in mind. We haven't seen their Fubuki in a little while. Actually, we have yet to see him. We know he was at least in A, and there's a random smoke screen in the middle of the islands. Yep. Guess where he's at. Now, for whatever reason, and I think it's due to the fact that I was just my direction of travel was leading me towards the island. He only gets one spread off. Does cause flooding, does knock out my engine. Obviously, do have the repair, and it is going to completely negate any dot damage. So do have repair as well. But we know where the enemy Fubuki is. But one thing to keep in mind, the enemy Fubuki only dropped one set of torpedoes. and the Fubuki has 3 total sets. And the Sternberg, being the Nuremberg, is going to try to take out the enemy Fubuki, which, I mean, yes, is a great option because the Nuremberg does have Hydro. But there's also a whole bunch of battleships, and they're probably going to be looking directly at him. Gonna open up on this Bayern, and instant deletion by the enemy Fuso, but at the exact same time, the enemy Fubuki would have deleted him as well, since he did have 2 additional spreads ready. So that is unfortunate. Now we have lost both of our cruisers, and the enemy team has yet to lose 1. And okay, our battleships are still kind of around the B area. Really haven't pushed that far. Am currently focused on this Perth. Definitely would like to get rid of him. I would also like to get rid of that Cleveland. Fortunately, no citadels there, but unfortunately for us, the Perth is currently spotting the gate. Actually, I think the gate is currently opening up. I think he's trying to get away, but yeah, the enemy team is currently focusing him down. Fubuki is there as well. And here I debated whether or not I should take out the enemy Fubuki, but I figured better chance with taking out the Perth, for that matter. Get a citadel. Unfortunately, he's still kicking. So right now I am in a bit of a pickle. And fortunately for me, the enemy team aren't really pushing their advantage either. At least 3 or 4 of their ships are currently all the way up north, and so that's actually very beneficial for me. Looks like the Fubuki does drop torpedoes and should be fine, and we do get the Perth. Very, very nice. Very nice, actually. Don't have to worry about him anymore. Now the Fubuki obviously is gonna try to go after me. A last known location was heading south, kind of towards my direction, but at the exact same time, the Fubuki is probably going to push towards B, but if anything, is probably going to drop another spread of torpedoes. Currently, right now, dealing with the Bayern. I will have to say my friendly team is getting shots out. They are dealing damage, so I'm not totally disrespecting them, but their current positioning in the initial beginnings of the game was not very beneficial for the team. It was beneficial for them, kept them nice and safe, nice and healthy. But obviously we lost both our additional destroyer, and look at that. Citadel by the Baron. Yep, that can happen. I am trying to be careful, because I do know this Fubuki's around, and more than likely he is going to try to drop torpedoes. Now I am showing a lot of broadside, and this is something you don't particularly want to do, but my option was either show a little bit of broadside, get turned around, or continually heading south and not offering any support to my friendly team. Now, there are those torpedoes I was talking about. Yeah, the Fubuki's around. He's currently sitting in B. The Baron is actually probably going to have to deal with them, which is unfortunate. Now, taking sizable amount of damage against that Bayern. And I think it really came down to the fact that I was not paying attention of my angle as much as I would like. And we do earn high caliber there. Now this Bayern is going to be my most major issue at this time, and being just got a penetration with no damage. That's always fun to see. We do have our friendly Dunkirk actually pushing into B. He does have a Fuso he has to be concerned about, but it looks like he's trying to go after the enemy Cleveland. Yeah, this is going to be very, very tight. The Bjorn is starting to narrow his angle. So I do switch over to HE, and this is where I make a fairly big mistake. Is my ammo type. So I have HE loaded because I figured he's gonna just continually kind of turn in, show no angle. Instead, he turns broadside, and I had set my ammo type up to, once I fired HE, switch over to AP. I accidentally hit the AP twice, and so I just wasted a almost fully loaded salvo that could have done damage, and instead I have to wait another 25 seconds before I can even open up, and obviously he's going to get some shots in, but not doing that big of damage towards me, which is good. And right now, if I can keep this island between myself and the Baron can obviously shoot over this island. So I need to keep this island between us as much as possible. So instead, I'm going to switch my attention over to this Fuso, who is currently showing me actually quite a bit of broadside. But my guns obviously are going to take a little bit of time to get turned around. Our Dunkirk is doing his very best. Our team is actually caught up in the amount of ships. Obviously, trying to keep an eye on this Baron. Unfortunately, we didn't do as much damage as we would have liked. Actually, I'm kind of curious how this Baron went down. Yeah, this is the issue with the Baron. It's not really good for brawling. As you can see, it's taken quite a sizable amount of chunk, and unfortunately it goes down to the Fuso secondaries. Now, I've kept this island between myself and this Baron, and opening up against this enemy Fuso. He is burning. It looks like he's also trying to heal at the exact same time. Trying to be aware. Sorry, having a slight issue there. Trying to be aware of where this enemy Baron is at all times. And we are taking some amount of damage from the enemy Fusos. So I think a good option is try to get, once again, a little bit further behind this island. Stop showing a broadside to these enemy Fusos. Now, our friendly battleships, obviously, the Baron's currently trying to deal with the enemy Fuso. I myself am currently trying to deal with the enemy Baron, and it looks like the Dunkirk does get his revenge. Ooh, that is so extremely lucky that we were not hit more times than that. As you can see, we are very low on health. The Baron's currently chasing us, and this is one thing you should not do, is chase a ship around an island, because obviously the ship that you're chasing is actually going to be able to open up. Now we are currently being spotted due to the fact that the Baron's actually 2 kilometers away, 2 or less kilometers away from us. And right now I just need to keep this island between myself and him. My front guns are getting turned around, which is actually really good. The friendly Baron does take out the Fubuki, and you can see we just earned 8,000 points of damage there. Guns are back around. Oh, so very close. And he barely scrapes me and leaves me at 712 points of health. And I am currently going to try to actually disappear. Now, there's only one ship on the enemy team, and obviously he has his eyes on me, and any moment now we should become undetected. Our repair is almost off cooldown, 4 seconds, and yeah. Oh, unfortunately, unfortunately, the enemy Fuso gets off the salvo before we go down, or before I could get a heal off, and we go down. So that is unfortunate, but our friendly team should be able to push in towards the enemy Fuso and actually take him out. So as far as damage-wise, pretty good. 107,387, 2 kills to our names. High caliber and close quarter expert, which is something you don't always see with the Fuso, especially with the semi-unusual secondaries with the HE and the AP, but overall not too bad. Definitely could have swung quite dramatically different had we had the other battleships with us. As you can see, they're fairly full health. Both the Baron and Fuso have at least almost 7/8, almost 2/3 of their health. So they're fairly full health against one lone Fuso. So yeah, not a kind of. I mean, I kind of understand they were playing a little bit more passively, but at the exact same time, they weren't really offering support to the friendly team. And this Fuso is by himself. As long as our friendly battleships kind of stay angled in, they should be fine. Unfortunately, I can't really see what the Fuso is doing, which is unfortunate. Actually, didn't know if I could take control of the camera, but the enemy Fuso is going to go down one way or another, and we are going to win this battle, which is actually something I was not expecting. Yep, there we go. Citadel on that Fuso. Fuso's showing way too much broadside and is going to go down here shortly. But anyways, this is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it with the Fuso and the two very distinct teams that I just experienced, actually one after the other. So this is right after the previous game. So very, very distinct as far as team play. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.